What's happening, guys? It's Jeremy Blanton with Remax Southern Shores, and today I wanted to discuss with you some of the biggest misconceptions, some of the biggest culture shocks, reality checks that I had moving to Myrtle Beach 25 plus years ago. We're going to discuss some things that have changed over this time, and we're really going to break down some big things you need to know before you decide I'm going to make Myrtle Beach home. So let's get into this. Okay, so the first thing that we need to discuss in this video is the traffic here in Myrtle Beach. You know, I've lived now in Myrtle Beach since 1998. I literally graduated on a Friday night. We had my graduation party on Saturday, and Sunday I was on my way here and have lived in Myrtle Beach since then. And so it has now been well over 25 years that I've lived in the Myrtle Beach area. And here's what I have found when it comes to traffic in our area. Yes, there is a ton of tourism that takes place in the Myrtle Beach area. Millions and millions of people visit this area every single year. And with that brings a lot of an influx of traffic. Now, the part that has come on addition to that is that a lot of people have made Myrtle Beach their home over the last 20 plus years. And with that means there's more developments, more houses, more people living in the area. Where my development currently sits, the farm at Carolina Forest, right past it used to be basically the end of the road. It came to a T intersection and it was dirt there. River Oaks Drive did not really exist yet. And so when they were building the farm, people were like, what in the world were they thinking building this development where they're going to put 1,500 homes next to a dirt road? Well, if you drive through that segment now of Carolina Forest, you're going to see why. What does that mean? Well, now we have grocery stores, restaurants, roads, and a ton of traffic in our area. But when you talk to someone who's lived in the Myrtle Beach area for 20 plus years, one of the biggest complaints that they're going to make about our area is that there is just so much construction and there's so much traffic on the road. Yes, there is a lot more traffic here now than there was 25 years ago. Why? There's a lot more people calling Myrtle Beach home these days. But at the end of the day, whether you're someone who's lived in Myrtle Beach for a year, 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years, the traffic here is nothing compared to some other larger cities that you may go. My wife was just in Atlanta, Georgia, visiting family. And, she was telling me about how they wanted to go down to IKEA one day. And they had to plan their entire trip around rush hour traffic and getting through it in Atlanta. Another one of my clients, Andy, what's up, Andy? And Lindsay, hope you guys are doing well. They're buying a house here because they're tired of living up near the Charlotte area. And he basically tells me that when he has to go to meetings, if he doesn't leave by 6 a.m., it's going to take him an extra hour or two to get through the traffic to get where he needs to be. Here in Myrtle Beach, rush hour traffic, the worst traffic of the day, is going to maybe add 10 to 15 minutes to your trip. Now, yes, there is a lot of people on the roads and you have to be alert when you're going around the areas. But overall, the traffic usually is consistent in movement and you're going to be able to get through the heavy congested areas within maybe 10 minutes or so. So while you might add a little bit more to your trip if you're going out between 8 to 9 in the morning or 4 to 5 at night in the afternoon, overall, it's not that big of a deal. Now, there are some segments that you have to pay attention to, obviously. One of those, and I've talked about it a lot in the past, is Highway 501. Highway 501 is the main road that everyone uses to come in and out of the Myrtle Beach area. So during this time of year, right now we're in the middle of summer, high season, a lot of people in town. On a Friday afternoon, you don't want to go on 501 unless you absolutely must, because you're going to run into heavy traffic. A lot of people coming into town. On Saturday, a lot of people going out of town as well. So that means that there's going to be a lot more congestion on those roads. But honestly, at the end of the day, it hasn't really changed much from what it used to be. With some of the newer roads that have been added in our area, like Highway 22 and Highway 31, you're able to kind of get around those heavy segments of traffic fairly easy and make your time and travel a lot less. I remember when I first moved here in 1998, I was attending Coastal Carolina University. I lived up in Briarcliff Acres near Barefoot Landing area of Myrtle Beach. And at that time, Highway 22 did not exist. Highway 31 did not exist. So when I would go to college, I would have to leave in the morning 2 to 3 hours prior to my classes. Why? Because I had to take 17, go all the way down to 501, and then 501 out to the school. If there was a wreck on 17 or if there was a wreck on Highway 501, there is no way to really get around it. You would basically sit and wait to get through it. I'll never forget the one time coming home from Coastal. There was a manufactured home that was traveling down 501 that had basically the truck jackknifed across the road, laid it across, and we literally sat there. Everybody got out of their cars in the middle of 501, and we basically just had a party sitting right there because we weren't moving anywhere for about an hour and a half. Those types of things happened on the regular back in the day. Also, back then, there were a lot of stoplights and stop and go areas of 501 where the traffic just backed up because there were so many people coming into town. Nowadays, 501, those heavy congested areas, they've put in a lot of overpasses, things that are going to be able to help you circumvent a lot of the traffic and get around it. But in addition, roads like 22 and 31, they've been constructed since where you get on those roads, they're 4 or 6 lane highways, 55 to 65 miles an hour. You just get on and go, and you can get from one end of the beach to the other. So now if I want to go from my house in Carolina Forest and head towards Atlanta, we take 31 up to 22, 22 out, and it gets us around all of Conway traffic and drops us off basically in Aner, where we get around all of those things. So yes, traffic in our area, it is heavy. Yes, there is a lot more people on the road these days, but at the same time, we have had new roads that have come to the area and new ones that are continuing to come, roads being widened, projects happening all the time. That's going to help to make that overall traffic mess less each and every day. All right, the second thing that we got to discuss now is the weather here in our area. One of the big reasons why people want to move to Myrtle Beach is that we don't have that much of a winter. It's fairly mild. You might see a little bit of snow that falls, but overall, most of the winter time, your temperatures are going to be from maybe mid to high 30s to 50s, even on the coldest days. You might have a few that are below freezing, but overall, fairly mild in comparison to people who live in the Northeast or out in the Northwest. But the other side to that is this. We're going to deal with heat in the summertime. Right now, it's middle of July. We are in the dog days of summer, as they call it, where it is incredibly hot outside. I believe today I saw the feels like temperature was right around 108 or 109 degrees. Why is that? Because being this close to the beach, we have a very, very high amount of humidity. The temperature itself might be in the low to mid 90s, but with that humidity, it makes it feel more like 109 degrees. In Myrtle Beach, in the Horry County and Grand Strand area, you're going to be having your air conditioning run probably 80 to 90% of the year. Yes, it is hot here, but when you live here at the beach, you learn how to deal with it and how to get around it and compensate. I actually had someone just this last week who backed out of a transaction because he said, Jeremy, it's just too hot here. I can't live in this. Now, if you have a home that is closer to the ocean, you're going to get that ocean breeze. So even when it is high temperatures outside, there usually is a little bit of airflow going on, which makes it a little bit more bearable. But what do most of us as locals do here in the area? Well, if we need to take care of our lawn, you're either getting up and doing it first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, get it cut before the high heat comes from the day, or what my wife and I do most of the time, we wait to do all the landscaping later in the day, usually 6 o'clock at night, do it as the sun's going down. It's not quite as extreme. Now, is it going to be hot? Heck yeah, it's going to be hot. But the other great thing is that if you have a neighborhood like ours where you have a community pool, after you finish and you're all hot and sweaty, go jump in the pool for a little bit, cool off, relax, and then go home and enjoy your evening. So yes, we're going to have heat. We're going to have extreme heat at times here in the area. But you need to make sure you're okay dealing with that before you make the move. I'd hate for you to have the house purchased, be ready to get to closing and show up for the day of closing and just realize it's too hot. I can't stand living here and I'm going to have to just give up my money and walk away, or get the house and shortly after getting it, sell it and lose a ton of money. Because unfortunately, the heat is not one of those reasons that you can get out of a contract. What do most people do? Like I said, we do it early in the morning, late in the evening. Now, if you're someone who says, Jeremy, I have to be outdoors most of the day, it's what I've done my whole life, then Myrtle Beach may not be the place for you. But like I said, if you can make those adaptations, it's a great place to live. And having the beach nearby that you can go to and enjoy the ocean breezes makes it a whole lot better. So the third thing that we need to discuss now is that the Myrtle Beach area is just a little bit more laid back. It's a little bit, some people would say, behind the times, but it's really not anymore. But if you're someone who's coming from the Northeast and you're used to things moving at a very rapid pace and high speed, and when you pull up to a stoplight and it turns green, you expect everyone to go right away, Myrtle Beach may not be the place for you to live. Why is that? It's a laid-back, relaxed atmosphere. People move here to live on beach lifetime. They're looking for something that's going to be a little bit slower pace, a little bit more laid back. And with that, unfortunately, at times, it means that things go slower here in the Myrtle Beach area. I remember when we moved here, my father was a school superintendent up in Pennsylvania near the Philadelphia area. He had 45,000 employees who worked underneath him, and he was used to when he asked for something, it was done within minutes. And things were handled right away and people jumped on it and did it. And when we first moved here to the area, he was expecting everyone down here to work and act the same way. And one of the rude awakenings that he had was learning right away that people don't do that down here. They're going to move at their speed, at their pace. They're going to do it in their timing. And no matter how hard you may try to change them, you're not going to do that. One of the first projects that we had this happen was my dad was doing an outdoor landscape project for my mother. And he hired someone to come and do it in the fall, expecting to have it done by the time we came down to visit the house in December of the year before we actually moved in permanently to the house. So the guy said it would take 3 weeks to get it done, and he would start on Tuesday. My father assumed that that meant he was going to start that next Tuesday. No, that wasn't next Tuesday. He actually meant in 3 Tuesdays from now. And the guy started, did a little bit of work for 2 hours, and then had to go to lunch. Then he, after lunch, came back, did another hour or two of work, and then was done for the day. And my father couldn't figure out why this was taking so long to get done. Needless to say, after months, the guy finally just said, I'm done dealing with my dad. I'm out of here, left, didn't finish the project, took his money and said, go figure it out on your own, and left. And unfortunately, that is what's going to happen sometimes when you're dealing with contractors. That's why it's important to have someone who has verified people that can give you references whenever you're hiring someone to do any type of projects. But the big thing in this is that my father had to learn really quickly, you know what, people move at a different pace down here. Things are done a little bit slower. I can't change them, so I might as well join them. Once he was able to change that lifestyle mindset and get into that same kind of relaxed atmosphere, living here at the beach was a whole lot better for him. So I usually tell people when moving here, give yourself about a 3 to 6 month period to get used to the change, get used to the pace, and once you do, you're going to love it. Now, if you're someone like my dad who's a little bit more high-strung, a little bit more A-type personality, you might have to give it more like 12 to 15 months, but once you realize you can't change them, so you might as well join them, things are going to become amazing and you'll love living here at the beach. All right, and the fourth thing that we're going to discuss is that living here in Myrtle Beach and in the surrounding areas is going to be more affordable than many other parts of the country. You know, the one that I talk about a lot is that property taxes here in the Myrtle Beach area are significantly less than in other parts of the country if the home is going to be your primary. Now, obviously, if it's going to be a second home, it's going to be a little bit more. But even as a second home, most of the time, those expenses are still going to be less than what you're currently paying. I'm currently helping some people that are moving from the New York, New Jersey area down to Myrtle Beach. And whenever I'm talking to someone from the New Jersey area, one of the things that I ask them is, what are you paying right now per month in taxes? And usually they tell me $1,100, $1,200, $1,700 a month. And when I can tell them, you're going to buy a $500,000 house down here, and what you're paying, $2,500 a month for taxes up in New Jersey is going to be what you pay for the whole year. Their mouth usually drops open and they go, what? Are you serious? Yeah. Property taxes here in South Carolina are the 6th lowest in the country. So we save people a ton of money moving here just on that. Also, things that you need for day-to-day living, like, for example, fuel. Fuel in Myrtle Beach is usually significantly less than many other parts of the country. When I check with people that are living in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, they're telling me that they're paying right now $4, $5, $6 a gallon for gas. Here in Myrtle Beach right now, it's right around $3.30 to $3.50, depending on the day, which is a significantly less amount. So you can save a ton of money just on fuel getting around here in Myrtle Beach. Also, when you talk about groceries, usually a gallon of milk here in Myrtle Beach is less than other parts. I had a client who moved here from New Jersey, and before they bought their house down here, one of the things they said is they used to come down, and every time they were on vacation, while here, they would hit up the Costco liquor section and stock up on liquor to take back home with them, because they could buy their vodka here for about half the cost of what it would be in New Jersey because of the taxes and everything extra expenses that they would throw on top of it. Now, not everything's that way here in Myrtle Beach. Some things are going to cost a little more. You are going to spend a little bit more. One of those is auto insurance is going to be a little bit higher. Property insurance might be a little bit higher. But overall, when it comes to owning a home, and you take all of those expenses for your taxes and then cost of utilities and all that stuff, you're usually going to make out much better in the long run here in Myrtle Beach than in other parts of the country. So one of the big advantages of living here is the cost of living here in Myrtle Beach. And while I've been here now for close to 30 years, that is one thing that has not changed. I know when we were looking at buying our first house down here back in 1998, and we were selling our home up in Pennsylvania, that our home up there at the time was probably valued around $380,000. That same house down here would have cost about $175,000 back then. So it is a huge savings that you can make on the house. You know, I've helped several people that have sold houses that might have been 1,200 to 1,400 square feet, built in the 1960s and 70s up in the Pacific Northwest or in New York and the Northeast, and they've come down here, bought brand new houses, dropped their monthly expenses down, saving a few $100s a month and getting twice the amount of house brand new here in Myrtle Beach. So it's definitely something you want to take into consideration if you're thinking of moving to this area. All right, and the final thing that we're going to discuss today is that living here in Myrtle Beach is not a vacation. Now, listen, guys, don't get mad at me on this one, but I have to kind of bring you into reality here. Too many times I talk to buyers that are moving to the area and they say, Jeremy, I want a house. I want to be east of 17. I want to be walking distance to the beach. I want to have this because I'm going to go to the beach every single day. I'm going to be there from the time that sun comes up to the time it goes down, enjoying every ounce I can of sunshine here in Myrtle Beach. The reality is they're used to doing that when they're in Myrtle Beach. So that's what they think they're going to do when they're here living year round. But the difference is that when they're on vacation, they've taken off from work. They've taken off from all of their daily activities. They've put everything in their life on pause to be on vacation and enjoy that beach life. But when you live here year round, you still have to do the dishes. You still have to go get groceries. You have to go to the doctor's appointment. You might have to still go to work or do all of those things. And when all that stuff gets added back into the schedule, time to go to the beach goes down exponentially. You know, my wife, she gets to go down to the beach maybe once or twice a week. But when she does, she's there for an hour and a half. She goes, enjoys taking a walk, picking up some shells, and then she comes home and starts the rest of her day. The other part to this is when you're on vacation, you're used to going out to eat. You know, Myrtle Beach has so many restaurants here in the area. I've talked about it in the past, some videos, and you know, I think the statistic's something crazy, like there's enough restaurants to eat 3 meals a day for a year and a half and never eat the same place twice in Myrtle Beach because there's so many spots. But the reality is that you can't afford to do that. You know, if you go out to eat, I have a family of 5. My son is 6'3". He's playing football. He's a high school boy. He eats me out of house and home. When we go out to eat, we can't go anywhere anymore and get a meal, even if it's just drive-through, it seems, for under $60 to feed the 5 of us. So if we did that every single day of the week, we would be out of money pretty darn fast and be living in the poorhouse very quickly. So you still have to cook. You still have to do grocery shopping. You can't just go out to eat every night and do all those things unless you're somebody who's ultra wealthy and uber rich. And if you are, I'd love to help you buy a house here in Myrtle Beach. You know, but the reality is most of us, that's not the case. The other thing is that when we put in all of the other daily things, taking care of the lawn, cleaning the house, you know, doing laundry, all of those things we have to do for day-to-day living, you can't really experience living in Myrtle Beach like it's a vacation. So when we start thinking about houses, you want to start thinking about it a little bit differently here in the Myrtle Beach area. If you're someone who says, hey, I like to have space, I like to have acreage, then maybe you want to consider living out farther west, out towards Conway. But you're going to give off and have trade-offs to doing that. You're going to be farther away from all the activities and things that Myrtle Beach has to offer. If you're someone who's currently living in a development or in a house that's not in a subdivision with no type of rules, no type of regulations, you may say, I don't want to deal with HOAs down there and have someone telling me what I can and can't do. And that's perfectly fine. Just know that if you trade off that segment of it, you're going to then also start to give up some of the other things that you might be looking for. You might be looking for that fellowship, that community, that connections with other people that's going to go away because you live out on 7 acres out in the middle of nowhere. Your closest neighbor is 7 acres away, and they're only there once every 6 months. So you start to lose some of that connections where when you live in the homeowners association, you have those community events. Hey, it's 4th of July. We're having a fireworks show at the pool, and everybody shows up and everybody brings a couple things of fireworks and they set them off. Or you might miss out on that potluck dinner that happens on the third Friday of every month type of thing. Those types of stuff, you have to kind of weigh all of those decisions and make the decision based on what fits best your personality, your wants, your likes and desires. For me and my family, we have a very busy schedule with 3 kids, 2 in one in high school, 1 in middle school, and 1 that just graduated. We need to have the ease of access close to everything. That's why we chose living in Carolina Forest, because we're outside all of the chaos of the tourism stuff, but we're close enough to all the things that we need for day-to-day living that we can be to all those spots in 10 to 15 minutes. The other big reason is that when it is high tourist season like right now, we don't have to go anywhere near any of that stuff. We're far enough away. We have our own ecosystem of grocery, restaurants, shopping, everything that we need for day to day without ever having to touch all of the tourism stuff. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video of me just sharing some of my experience living here at the beach for the last 25 years. If I missed something, do me a favor, leave a comment down below. Tell me what I missed so that I can include it in my next video. And if you're thinking about moving to the area, I would highly recommend go over to jeremyblanton.com. You can book a call with me and we can discuss your move to the beach. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, get the bell on, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.